This is a case presentation that is going to be also followed up with a demonstration of assertiveness training. This case is a 27-year-old African-American female who is single and still living at home. She is assistant bank manager for a branch. She has really improved her position quite a lot lately, starting out as a teller and then going into accounts, and now she's assistant bank manager. She came in at the request of her father and her supervisor, who noticed that she had been distractible and having some difficulty, and a few times, which was quite uncharacteristic of her, being a little snappy at work. When she came in, she said that she was really quite depressed, but her father and her supervisor weren't really aware of that. And she had attempted suicide with some aspirin 2 weeks prior to coming in, but she hadn't taken enough aspirin. It wasn't a lethal substance, and she just felt a little nauseous. But she said that she was feeling so depressed that she felt like killing herself, and she didn't know why. When reviewing her history, she had no history of substance abuse, no history of familial abuse. The family had been a fairly positive, intact family until she was around 9 or 10, and then her parents divorced. She continues to be quite close with her mother, who has not remarried, and she lives with her father, who has remarried. And her father's wife, her stepmother, is very sympathetic. They have a very excellent relationship. She went to live with her father when she was about 16, when she was feeling a little low and having some difficulty in school, and quickly, within just a few months, her demeanor improved and her grades improved, and her father attributes that to his discipline. He's a very strict, kind of old-fashioned father. She's the only child. She's quite shy and socially reticent. She's a very hard worker, very neat, very attractive, keeps herself well kept, very ambitious, manages her money well. She really has very little social life. She has a few friends, but she's also a Jehovah's Witness, so she doesn't engage in a lot of social activities that young adults in a typical South Florida singles community might. She's conservative herself in her values. Even though she's conservative in her values, she revealed that she has been having a relationship with a married man. He's a man who came into the bank, who was a client of the bank, and who pursued her. She eventually did have some lunches with him, and after having some lunches, they initiated a more romantic and sexual relationship. She, of course, feels very guilty about this because it's not acceptable according to her religion, it's not acceptable according to her family values, and it's not acceptable according to her own values. But she says that she feels he really cares for her and she cares for him, and so she sees him infrequently, but they talk daily on the telephone. He's an older man in his 40s, and she's, in her 20s, but it started several years ago, 4 years ago, when she was only 23. She says she doesn't mind that he's married because he's responsible for his family. When I pointed out that he was, not really being responsible to his family, she said, well, he stays for the kids, and he doesn't really love his wife. So he makes no attempt to pretend that he's intending to leave his wife and become engaged to her or married to her at some point in the future. So her social life is basically going to her church events, where she says there are no eligible men her age, staying with her family and seeing this individual infrequently, but talking to him daily on the phone, and very rarely having a lunch with a girlfriend. She doesn't go to movies. She doesn't go to dances. She doesn't go to bars. She doesn't eat out often. She has no hobbies. And she's completely unaware of why she might be upset or depressed. She says she has no reason to be upset or depressed. When the interview continued, it was clear that her father monitors her behavior, monitors her telephone calls. She's not really allowed to stay out after 10 p.m. She wouldn't go out on a weekend and stay late. She doesn't sleep over at friends' houses. Friends don't sleep at her house. My estimation, socioculturally, is that she's functioning as really a mid-adolescent teenager in the house, that she needs his permission for social activities, even though she's quite financially independent and has been an adult for 9 years. She wouldn't engage in any social activities that he didn't approve of. And he monitors her. When asked, well, how does your friend call and when do you see your friend? He calls her cell phone only when she's at work or after work or before work, and then she erases the numbers from her cell phone so that her father can't trace it. And when she meets him, it'll be on a day when there's an early work day, and she normally leaves at 5, but she's leaving at 3, and he'll come up from another county and spend a couple of hours with her in the afternoon. They've never been out on what is really an official date. He doesn't take her to dinner. They don't go to the movies. They spend time sitting in his car, and occasionally, rarely, but occasionally, they've gotten a motel room. In reviewing her psychological makeup, I determined that one of the primary problems was that she had a communication deficit, and she wasn't able to express negative feelings toward her father, her mother, this individual, or those around her, and so she held on to her feelings, and they would build up, and then she would be afraid that she would blow up, and that would cause her to be depressed. She doesn't have any other symptomatology, a little bit of anxiety that she might be rude to some of the clients at the bank who are rude to her. She says sometimes she has to handle problems. She's very, very good at that, handling problems between a teller and a client. But occasionally clients are rude and they call her names or they make faces, and she feels anxious that sometimes she might just be rude back. But that's the only time she really feels anxiety. When asked, don't you feel anxiety about your relationship with this man, she said no, because she felt he cared for her and she respected his family values. So there's a certain amount of cognitive inconsistency, cognitive dissonance involved. But I chose to start her therapy with training her to be a little bit more assertive with people who were very safe, like her mother, her stepmother, her supervisor at work, and her father. And the main issue was really getting some respect from her father, feeling that her father trusted her judgment so that she could trust her own judgment. And then a longer range goal might be to clarify her relationship with this man, because I feel that she really does know he's not respecting her or his wife by maintaining this dual relationship, and that it blocks her from possibly having a much more satisfying social life and possibly a much more satisfying relationship. But she's not really ready to confront that issue yet. So we're going to start with the assertiveness and try to alleviate the depression through expressing negative emotions effectively.